So as Brian well knows, and many of you well know, I spent the first part of my life really getting goals and accomplishing things and pushing the edges and all of that. And that was my whole life. And the more certificates and goals and, I could get, the better it was. And so I had a lot of accomplishments. But now I've turned my life to introspection, to meditation, to starting to understand about how the mind operates. And that's what this is about. That's what this talk is about. And it's at this point, as we grow and have accomplished all these things in life, in the East, they talk about going into the forest for the final stage of life. And what they mean by going into the forest is going into the forest, getting quiet and introspecting and looking and finding out who you are at the deepest level. It's really what it's about. And then mentoring and helping other people. That's what it's about. So with that, I am just going to start here. Beautiful morning. I'm so happy to see all of you. I'm going to share screen. Okay. Where did it go? Let me stop here. Go back. Try this again. Share screen. There we go. Okay. Can everyone see the mastery circle with the Ouroboros? Great. These are 20 insights that came, and I've got the Ouroboros in there. It's an alchemical symbol. It has to do with the snakes or dragons eating their own tails and going around and around in a cyclical manner. And that is what our life is about. And the wisdom that comes to us is often from the past, but we contemplate it and see it with new eyes. So one day, a few years ago, I'm driving up this street. I went there yesterday to take a picture of the street that I was driving up. Now, all of a sudden, I had been doing a lot of meditation and a lot of readings and stuff. All of a sudden, all of this statements, revelations or insights started to come into my head. I pulled right over to the side there. You can see the side. I had an iPad and I took my iPad out and I started to write these down. And at first, 20 insights came right at, 10 insights came at the side of the road. I just wrote them down. And then I went home and another 10 insights came, and I'm going to share those with you. So here's an alchemical image. I really like this one. He is poked through the edge of the universe and he's seeing out into something. It's kind of what happens, what it feels like. And every now and then the veil parts and we see through into something different, something exquisite, something spiritual, something divine. We get to see into the infinite sometimes. We get to touch the infinite. And in ancient Greece, they talked about the muses. The muses, the feminine goddesses. What do the muses do? The muses were the 9 sister goddesses of Greek mythology that presided over song, poetry, arts, and sciences. Everyone in this room has been taken by the muses. I know Paul and Bonnie have been taken by the muse of poetry. Other people have been taken by the muse of arts, like Nita. This is when Paul talks about going into the zone. Something else comes through that's bigger than us. Remember Rumi said, these words, I don't know what I'm going to say. That was coming through him. And so we have all experienced that. And it's just wonderful when the muses get a hold of you, because they will just run you right through it. You're not in charge anymore. The muses are, as they pour this beautiful knowledge through. So here was interesting saying, the artistic activity does not so much lie in the art itself as such. It penetrates into a deeper world into which all forms inwardly experience flow together, in which the harmony of the cosmos in the nothing has its ultimate reality. Guess who said that? Sounds like a famous philosopher. It was Bruce Lee, the martial artist, Bruce Lee. Which means that it doesn't matter what art form you're in, you can still touch into that deep place. I'm getting a little bit of feedback here. I think I'm going to put my earphones on. Are you getting a little feedback, like a double thing when I'm talking? No, it's okay. All right, then I won't put the earphones on. Here we go. So Michael Yusvich had us do a story map many sessions ago. So I did a life story map. And I'm going to put my life story map right in the middle of this toroidal structure. The thing with a toroid is every spot touches every other spot. So there's my life story map. Now it's similar to other people's life story maps. You have a family, you have work, you have a vacation, you have things you've done. And most people live only a very small sliver inside that life story map. I have been fortunate, and others have been fortunate, to also experience the dream story map, or the dream storyland. All of a sudden, compared to your life story, the dream one is huge. You have shadow shows up, you have all these different, and in dream yoga, you go into the dream world and you fly and you heal people and you change things and you meditate. You do all of these things in dream story land. But then there's another land besides, and that land is supreme land. And that is where all of us have had those magical moments, moments of synchronicity, moments of awakening, moments of insights and revelation, which I had when I pulled over to the side of the road, where miracles happen, where the veil rents. And also those who have worked hard on themselves have something called siddhis, which are powers of perhaps clairvoyance and seeing the future and just knowing exactly the right thing to say to the right person at the right time, which changes them. So these are all other worlds that we have access to. But again, 95, 98%, I don't know what percent of the people live very small in the little tiny center and only in one segment of it. So this is just a thought I had the other day. Again, the muses got a hold of me and I said, wait a second. Christ consciousness is equal or similar to Krishna consciousness, is equal or similar to Buddha nature, is equal or similar to Advaita Vedanta non-duality, is equal or similar to Sufi mysticism, is equal or similar to Sosan, the Shinshin Ming book, Zen nature, is equal or similar to the Kabbalistic mysticism, the tree of life, and finally is equal or similar to Lao Tzu's Tao. They're all saying the same thing. It's just like a diamond looks from a different facet into the center. They're all saying the same thing. And guess where we realize that? We realize that in our purpose statement. The last couple sentences, we find that all spiritual paths have a deep common truth, and we look for ways of expression that unite us in our humanity. We honor the divine that is within ourselves and others, and we know we are one. Okay, here's how I propose to go through this. I'm going to read the first 5 insights and revelations. Actually, I'm going to ask someone to read each one. Well, maybe I should just read it. It might get a little complicated trying to go back and forth. Then I'm going to bring us all up on screen and we'll discuss it a little bit. Then we'll go to the next 5, the next 5, the next 5. So we'll break it into 4 sessions so we can have a little interaction and discussion between them. Okay, pulled over to the side of the road. Everything changes. There are no nouns, only verbs. All things will pass. So a noun like my desk is considered a noun, but guess what? My desk is a process. It's a slow verb, but it is decomposing. It was built, it came from somewhere. If you look at it, it's a process. Everything's gonna pass. We feel uncomfortable and we want everything to be stable. We crave stability. Why? Because the I, which is ego, wants to survive and thrive. Number 2, nothing is done by you. The divine moves through you, but you are not doing. Your mind thinks you are. The I thought thinks you are. Remember Rumi? He said, I don't know what I'm going to say. The divine is moving through him. And when he's not saying, he just gets real silent and doesn't speak. So what happens is our ego hijacks everything. Who or what you think you are is an illusion. Who you think you are is a bunch of thoughts and memories. So I'm seeing Bill on the screen. You know, Bill's going, well, I'm a comedian. I have my dog and my birds. I'm a good friend. I'm a good partner to everybody in the mastery circle. And all of these things comprise Bill, but they're just thoughts. They're thoughts kind of based on experience. They're in our head, but most people just live these out. That's who they are. Thoughts fed by attention grow. Thoughts arise from a field and will return and grow if fed with energy and emotion. Thoughts, if allowed to rise without attention, will fall again and dissipate. This is the whole basis of meditation. Thoughts will come during meditation. You just don't grab onto them. You just don't feed them. If you feed them, they grow. If you just let them go, they just dissipate back into the field that they came from. Last one, and then we'll talk about these. You are more than your thoughts, body, or mind. Your work is to find out who you really are in the larger continuum. At the deepest levels, that which doesn't change. Okay, let's come out of here, come back to the group, and you can unmute and just anything you want to say on this. Fantastic. Just share your ideas, and we'll do that for a little bit. We'll go on to the next 5.
It would be useful to have these 5 concepts again, so we can relate to them. Can you leave it for a moment or two?
I wonder if I could put them in chat, or if someone. I wonder if someone, Mary Grace, are you? Would it be possible for you to just copy the first 5 and put them in chat, or maybe the whole thing in chat?
Tim, she had to step away for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell her when she gets back.
Okay.
How about Michael?
Yeah, on the invitation, these are all printed out.
They are printed out on the
invitation.
invitation.
If you get that in front of you, you can
They're
read
in
that
the email, yeah.
in the email.
That is a good idea, Rena. Yeah.
I guess I will jump and speak.
Can you please open it again so we can take screenshot of that?
Yeah. I think Akbar asked if you can put it on the screen again for a moment.
Yeah,
please.
I sure will. I'll do that right now. Good idea. Let's do that. Share screen. I'll go here, share. Is that good enough to see?
Perfect, perfect. You can
Okay.
just have it on
Yeah.
the, okay.
Okay.
So I guess I'm moved by the nothing is done by you. And it's, on one hand, it's a great release. It's a great, you know, it's just a sweet thing to the ego. You know, all the things you think you're doing, it's really not you doing. And at the same time, it's such a, I believe I live my life like that. Kind of being led by the goddess, being led by what I feel the higher calling is. And I know I sometimes wrestle with it and get stuck, but it's such a beautiful concept, such a beautiful concept that informs, that allows me to dare more. When I'm thinking, okay, I'm just a vehicle, and I need to honor what comes through. So that's how I'm relating to this.
Thank you, Rena. Beautiful. Anybody else, just go ahead and speak.
I wanted to share on the ability that we have to trust God, that whatever it is that we are seeking, the answers come from the infinite. I'm just present to that. And I feel that I have to celebrate the unknown, because the answers are even greater and bigger and more enjoyable than what I could expect. And very quickly, I sent a certified letter to someone who was not answering my calls. And I just got her answer. She was in a hospital for 2 weeks and she couldn't be available. So I didn't expect she was going to answer. I just sent my certified letter, but the answer is bigger and better than expected. And I have to trust the universe, the infinite.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I'll move on to the second set. Let me share screen again. Share screen. Here we go. Share. The second set. Suffering is caused by narrow focus. You become immersed in what you are thinking about to the point that it is all that exists. Then the next thought arises and you become immersed in that. This applies to both negative and positive thoughts. You will try to maintain the positive, and when it leaves, you will experience suffering. This is an endless cycle of desires and fears. I've got to get this. I'm afraid of losing it. Very few people see this in their lifetime. In the Buddhist tradition, it's called the poisons, the 3 poisons right at the beginning. I got to have this, and I don't want that. They're fears of you don't like this, they're desires, and you just keep chasing after them and you want more and more, and it causes suffering because it never works out the way that you want it ultimately. Next one. Thoughts and feelings come and go. Awareness is that which perceives these. Jim Drever talks about this a lot. All of the masters talk about this. When you see that you are the awareness which perceives all, then that is called awakening. You see, you are awareness, which is always there and always present, out of which thoughts arise and fall. All of this stuff that changes is coming and going, but there's an awareness that is more you than anything, because it doesn't change, that watches this. Next one. When you abide as awareness, watching everything come and go, you are in open focus. This is some work that was done at a laboratory. Open focus means you are aware of all thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, senses, and time arising and falling. You are the ever increasing field of awareness that this all happens in. Therefore, no narrow focus thought can bother you. In fact, thought begins to diminish and you start to reside in silence. This is residing in silence is Ramana Maharshi and the whole Advaita Vedanta path, where you just reside in silence and you look at the I thought. Okay, two more. Silence, aware of itself, is where all the goodies arise from. Effortless realization of joy, bliss, love, oneness, divine, timeless, eternal, now is who you are. The ego disappears. Right action happens in accordance with universal flow. So we're going to look at this one. This teacher is called Nisargadatta Maharaj. It's a great sage, a great saint. And he said, a quiet mind is all you need. All else will happen rightly once your mind is quiet. As the sun on rising makes the world active, so does self-awareness affect changes in the mind. In the light of calm and steady self-awareness, inner energies wake and work miracles without any effort on your part. Tell a little story about a master in the East who was sitting, he just had a little hut behind him and just some clothes. And a thief came. And the thief came to steal. And he goes into the hut, there's nothing really to steal. And the master notices him and he gives him his clothes. And the thief leaves with these clothes. And the master's sitting there and he says, I wish I could give him the moon. When you have everything, you want to end suffering. You want to give away the good. All right, last one in this series. When you live in this space all of the time, you will have reached liberation. Old habits are strong and pull you back into ego-driven fears and desires. With the dissolution of personal I, suffering disappears and the pure bliss of just existing becomes the ever-present background of the mind. Thoughts still arise, but they fall back into the field without touching or affecting you. Let's come back to the group here. Kind of a lot in that one, but again, I'll just start to open it up.
It's interesting. One of the things I've done over the years with people I'm coaching, mainly leaders of companies, is I say, you realize that your thoughts are at best an approximation of reality, not reality itself. And that begins a journey, right? And that's what came up for me when I saw these insights that you shared. So thank you.
Yeah, Tim,
I'd like
number.
to-
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is so profoundly wonderful, Tim. I know that all of this is true. And it's so easy to get caught up in little fears and thoughts, and especially when you're going through a big transition, as I am right now. I was drawn to the work of Gary Zukav right after Paul passed, his first book, The Seat of the Soul. And now Gary Zukav has a new book called The Universal Human. And in a way, in a more, it's a different kind of overview, but it's really about what is up for us right now to become a universal human, a multi-dimensional being, instead of a 5th-century person, and how the economy runs and everything. And I really love how that meshes with what you're saying this morning. This is absolutely perfect for me right now. I so love what you're doing here at the Mastery Circle. And I just want to tell everybody that Gary Zukav is coming to speak on November 10th at the Inside Edge, and it's going to be amazing. It's very rare that he shows up. And I just see that there's a door opening. There's a place that we can all move through, that you're really reminding us of the whole context of who we are as human beings and who we can become. It's thrilling to me. Absolutely. I absolutely love it. I want to come to the Mastery Circle all the time. I'm just very excited about this. So that's all.
Okay, I was able to get the first set into chat. I'll see if I can get the second set, second half of the first set in chat, which we just talked about. Hopefully you're able to see that. Dang, doesn't work. Brian, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was looking at number 7, and what struck me was something that has really empowered my life is simplicity in that number 7, and that is, we've often talked about this, Tim, one-on-one, about where attention goes, energy flows, and results show.
Yes.
And one of the things I've learned in my life in the last 15 years is to really try to keep it as simple as possible, not only in teaching, but also in receiving. And so that part really stuck to me. And I must admit, a lot of the other parts are, some of it is going a little bit over my head, and it's pretty technical, and I appreciate it, but I just wanted to share that one little piece. I'm looking for keeping thoughts, and then I'm at choice quickly. You know, when I keep it simple, I'm at choice whether I want to go down that rabbit hole or the cul-de-sac and stay in the cul-de-sac, or I can quickly get out of that cul-de-sac to get back on the true path of life, and, you know, with my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, I think I've got the second set, first part in chat. Hopefully you can see that, and I'm going to start to read that next. So that'll give you something to look at, to refer back to. Okay, I'm going to come back up again. This is the second set, first part, share screen, share. All right. This enlightenment and liberation has been steeped in religious trappings, which is totally unnecessary. Our basic nature, it's our basic nature. You don't need rituals, prayers, dogma, or scripture to discover it. I'm going back to Nisargadatta Maharaj, who says, my guru ordered me to attend to the sense I am and just give attention to nothing else. I just obeyed. I did not follow any particular course of breathing or meditation or study of the scriptures. Whatever happened, I would turn away my attention from it and remain with the sense I am. It may look too simple, even crude, yet it worked. What it did was it brought him to the center of his soul, of who he was. Now, I want to just mention that Buddha had 84,000 teachings. So why did he have 84,000 teachings? He had 84,000 teachings because each one of those teachings would help someone, depending on where they were on the path, go further. So when I say you don't need rituals, prayers, dogmas, or scripture to discover it, it's not entirely true. Some people need things to move them along to help remove what we call obscurations, thoughts and ideas that are in the way. And that's why the Buddha had all these different teachings, because he went and met people at where they were to give them a hand up to move towards enlightenment. Okay, all you have learned previously can get in the way of this realization. You must leave it behind and enter this with naked, childlike innocence. I believe that was in the Bible also, this thing about childlike mind. Zen mind, beginner's mind, he says, empty the cup. You got to come into this without all these preconceived notions. And often we don't notice all these preconceived notions. Next one. As we learn and strip away the inessentials, what used to be almost impossible to do in a lifetime, except for a great avatar, can now be done in a few years. And it's getting more common for ordinary people to achieve it. So this enlightenment thing is getting more common. And why? Because as more people achieve it, the field becomes more open for others to reach it with less effort. Look, if we're all connected, if we're all one, there's a field there. And as more people energize the field, it becomes more available for others. Okay, next one. Throughout history, mankind has not been able to eliminate war. This offers a viable possibility for ending war, because with the elimination of ego, war is not a possibility. It cannot exist in that paradigm. Look, if you're living at a place like the monk who was going to give the man the moon, you're not going to be interested, like the thief was, in taking things. The thief is lost in the me versus them. I've got to have this. And with the dissolution of the ego, war would not be a possibility. People will have natural compassion, natural love, natural healing. So let's go here. We'll come back. All righty. So again, I'll open it up.
Hey, Tim, David Hayen here.
Yes,
I want
David.
to thank you for your presentation and your list. And I, agree with really all 20 items. It's putting it into practice that I find is difficult. So, I'm in total agreement, but practice may make perfect, but I'm certainly not there yet, anywhere close to it. But I greatly appreciate your presentation.
David, you have hit the nail on the head. This is the whole crux of the thing. What the masters say is you need to practice this on the cushion, which is in meditation, but then out in the world. You need to be able to see your mind and to stop it. Well, actually, you never really stop your mind. You just watch the thoughts come and go, to have that compassion come up again. And you notice what's called the nature of the mind. The nature of the mind is below all this other ego stuff. And when that clears away, like clouds clearing away, then the sun is there. But you're exactly right. It takes practice. In fact, in the next set of 5, I'm going to get into that exactly. It's an endless practice that you do because you're trying to overcome all the habits of your previous life, which is struggle, survival. I got to win. They're an enemy, or are they a friend? Where's the danger? All of that. Look at the newspaper. Look at what's going on in the world. It's just horrendous. And it's all, what if we put our gross national product instead of defense into just wonderful things? We all know this, but we're still stuck in a primitive mind that's a survival mind. Okay, I'm going to go to the last set of 5. Share screen. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Share. Let's go here. There we go. Last set of 5. The most important thing, we just talking about war, you can do for yourself in the world is to work on yourself to achieve liberation. Why? Why is that most important thing? I'm going to go to David Hawkins. We studied this a while back, power versus force and so forth. Just take a look at this image here. At the very bottom are shame, guilt, apathy, grief, and fear. How much of the world lives in that? How much of the world lives in the desire and the stress and the anger? These are all low energy items. And if you're below 200, according to his model, you'll get sick. Life cannot be sustained down there. Now let's go way to the top to enlightenment. This is a logarithmic scale, which means each group of numbers is way larger, not just sectionally larger, but exponentially larger than the ones before. Someone who's enlightened, like a Christ, like a Buddha, can pull up millions of people who are at the lower energy, right? Those higher energies, those magnificent, huge energies, just walking in the room, it'll pull up people in the lower areas. So that's why the best thing you can do is work on yourself. And once you work on yourself, then you can become a pathway and a teacher and a helper for others. But you're not going to do it unless you're there yourself. The energy can't push higher than it is itself. It can pull. So I like that image. Okay. You must experience this firsthand and not fall into the trap of feeding off your mental concepts, which enhance the spiritual ego. You must eat the meal and not the menu. There are a lot of people running around who have all these spiritual concepts and they have great wisdom, but it's the menu. They're just talking the menu and the ego is feeding off of this. Even great revelations and insights do not get you there. You must have the direct experience. The purpose of spiritual pointers is to get you to navigate close enough to the flame so that you burn up. What I'm talking about burning up is the ego burns up. Words are boundaries. Whatever can be said is not it. Drop words and experience the boundless. Past and future are boundaries. Drop them and melt into the eternal now. That's another pointer. Living in the now, living in not the past or the future, because those are filled often with anxieties and fears, but living in the now, spontaneous right action often arises when the mind is silent. This all pervading awareness is always present when you look. You are there instantly, but you get distracted by the motion of life and sucked into that space. Here we go, David. By continual practice, you will stabilize and be here perpetually. So I want to explain something. There is something, we all have awakening experiences. Those are those moments where there's great peace, there's great beauty, there's great joy. We all have awakening moments. But until you're there continually, you're not at liberation yet. So you have to practice. You have to practice looking at the mind, coming from the heart. By continual practice, you're going to stabilize it. You'll realize you are always here and it will always be here. You will have fully arised and find this awareness stabilized even into your dream states. It'll carry through at night. All of the great sages and masters talk about that. When it's stabilized, it goes all the way around the clock. You will have it in your dream state. You own nothing, you have nothing, you can do nothing, and by some mystical grace, you are everything and have everything. It's a mystery. How grateful we are to have everything and have all of this before us. there is a single intelligent consciousness that pervades the entire universe. It is all knowing, all powerful, all creative, always present. As it is present everywhere at the same time, it follows that it must also be present in you, that it is you. So awakening is finding that out. These are two great sages, Ramana Maharshi on the right and Punjaji on the left. That same awareness in the third eye is available for everybody. So here's the end. Before I finish, I always add a parking lot at the end of my speeches. Here's the parking lot. And I'm going to go to the first item in the parking lot. I mentioned about going down the street and doing the tablet there with all the insights. Here it is. And this is something that I've learned from the Tibetans. And that is, be very, very, very careful about a spiritual ego growing. You think it's holy, you think you're special, you think you're wonderful because this stuff comes through. And what happens is that little ego sings those little songs into your ears and your head grows and grows without knowing it. So that's the caveat on all of this spiritual stuff, is to have the humility, have the gratitude that this is a gift, and don't let that ego hijack that part of the work. So we'll stop the share, come back. Here we go. Let's see how we're pretty good on time. So let me just open it up for some final comments. Yes, Paul.
So over 25 years, we did these 3-day offsites for business leaders, on accountability, teamwork, strategy, structure, culture. But the first module we always did was be here now, in which we taught them to meditate, taught them to be in the present. Well, years later, we did a survey. What was your favorite module of all the ones we presented to you? And be here now won 100%. Because even though you just get a glimpse, once you get that glimpse, that's where you want to be. Mm-hmm. So it's just an innate knowing, even with these, business leaders.
Lovita, did you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, that wasn't clear, Tim. No, Dana has his hand up.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, Dana, please.
Well, I was struck by your cat at the parking lot, and which led me to believe if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there, which is what the Cheshire Cat says to Alice in Alice in Wonderland. And in your drawing there, I was surprised how high reason was in that whole thing that you had, the graph, because to me, the real fault of human consciousness lies in consciousness being able to think about itself. And when we come up with self-reflection, the first thing we have to do is get out of the way of our own self-image and allow who it is that we are to be doing the talking without the filtering of who it is that we've allowed ourselves to become. And this is a delicate act to do. But all of the things that we've done to prepare ourselves, whether it's language or memories or the kinds of things that build us into the kinds of person we are, give us a sense of self-belief. And in order to participate in what we do, to be authentic, we got to get out of the way of that. So I was struck by all the other ones seemed to really make sense. But I looked at that and I said, when I see where I'm going and where it is that I want to be. It is that be here now moment of not having a governing system navigating that is not out there in the world or in the cosmos, but it's in here in some sort of desire or self-concept. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Thank you, Dana. Really brilliant. Really brilliant. Thank you. We have about 3 more minutes if anyone wants to say anything else. Okay,
Chairman,
Pamela.
yeah.
Hi, there was a lot of writing and I was doing screen copying, but the thing about war and ego, I mean, that touched me, that possibly we could not have so much war if the ego became more gentle or reconnected with everybody's ego and we're all one, and then why have war? So that touched me a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. Michael?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing that you've stated a lot of principles, these 20 truths. And I think a lot of us have a kind of an inbred kind of a do orientation, or what do I do, or what's the pathway to follow? And so the 20 steps don't necessarily add up to a pathway yet. And so we're all sort of struggling with, well, what pathway do I follow to get there? And so that's a struggle. I think the pathway is there if you work at it. That's what I have to do, is I have to work with it and read it and absorb what you've got here, because there's some real insights. But it's that step of how do we find enlightenment? How do we find something deeper in ourselves in the process of getting there? Because you can give people the truth. You can give people the absolute truth and they won't know what to do with it. That's one of the great contradictions of human life. And so I'm just curious what you think about that. It's that whole process of how do I go from where I am now to get there?
Yeah, Michael, very good. And there's a Rumi saying about there are more pathways to enlightenment than there are hairs on the Persian woman's head. So what they do is they provide all of these possibilities, and certain ones will ping with certain people. They will just take that and write it right in, because it's our basic nature. There are many paths in. So I just want to end with a quick poem, and then we will, we will do our thing for next week. And this is called Community of Spirit. And it's a Rumi poem. There's a community of spirit, join it and feel the delight of walking in the noisy street and being the noise. Drink all your passion and be a disgrace. Close both eyes to see with the other eye. Open your hands if you want to be held. Sit down in this circle and quit acting like a wolf and feel the shepherd's love filling you. At night, your beloved wanders. Don't accept consolations. Close your mouth against food. Taste the lover's mouth in yours. You moan, she left me, he left me. 20 more will come. Be empty of worrying. Think of who created thought. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? Move outside the tangle of fear thinking. Live in silence. There it is. Live in silence. Flow down and down in always widening rings of being. So that closes the presentation.